years. So anyways, well, cool guys. Well, we got, looks like we got about 19 people on the call. Welcome. So excited to have you guys here today for the Monday Mastermind call. As I mentioned, we're going to be talking today about content creation, how to go about just, thinking about content creation and, really like researching it, finding out like what people are looking for and how you can kind of like use these strategies in your business. Most likely, I imagine it's a real estate business. But even if you're running some other type of a business, this could, I'm sure, apply to it. But yeah, there's a lot of benefits to content creation. And I guess maybe that's where we'll just kind of start is like a general overview and kind of like the benefits, why you would even want to start creating your own content. But really, I think, one of the most powerful benefits that I see as now that I kind of say that I'm a content creator is you gain trust and you gain kind of like respect and people. It doesn't take quite as long to sell somebody on something when they can already see that you've created content that's helpful to them, and they kind of begin to see that you're an expert at whatever it is that you're creating that content on right from the start. So you have to sell yourself less whenever it is that you get involved in a meeting or a sales presentation or whatever it is. If you've got content out there in this day and age, people are typically looking you up. They're, researching what they can find about you. And, and so when you create that content, I think that it just helps that sales process in whatever business that you're in move forward. And so I think that's of course one big benefit. I think the other benefit is of course, then you can get discovered, right? You're going to get relationships and, get opportunities to do things that you might not have gotten otherwise if you didn't have things out there in the, YouTube space, in the, Google SEO space, in all of these spaces where people are searching and looking for stuff. You might not have gotten, found if you didn't have things out there. And so one of the things that I guess, that I had started in the beginning, why I was really hesitant about not creating as much content as I do today is I almost felt like you're like in this uphill battle of like you don't even know where to start, and you don't even know, because there's so much out there, that what you're going to do is going to be effective. Like, I know that for me, I was like, man, I don't even want to start. There's already stuff about this, or like, who am I? Like, nobody's going to know who I am. So like, I shouldn't even start at it, and that was kind of my thought for, a few years, in the very beginning. And then whenever I did do stuff, it was never like, it wasn't like very planned, or it was just kind of at a whim, and then I'd put it out there. And now what's ended up transpiring over like 2 or 3 years is I see that stuff that I put out there on a whim actually was like, now it's like reaching people find it and they're like connecting with me. I'm like, man, if that happened, just from a whim, like what could happen if I actually was consistent with this and, actually, made a go at it. And sure enough, I mean, I've been doing that now solid for, I'd say 4 to 5 months, with some plan behind it. And, there's good things happening, a lot of good things happening for me. And, so anyway, so that's kind of, I would say, an overview about the benefits. Curtis, I'll kick it to you to see if I missed anything or if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, no, it makes total sense, man. Let me summarize a little bit here, just the notes. So you talked about establishing authority, and that's a big one. That's a very big opportunity. We need that as realtors. We're in a leadership position, whether we know it or not, in interacting with our buyer and seller clients, interacting with our vendor partners, and the content that you create and you put out there, it just establishes your position. You think about like walking into a classroom, if you will, the presenter, the teacher up front, they have immediate authority, right? Just because you see them standing up there in the front of the room. And it's the same thing with your online content. When somebody sees you on video, they see you, putting stuff out there, your blog posts, all that good stuff is establishing that authority for you. So that's absolutely great reason, Kyle. Another one you mentioned was building trust and creating new relationships. We're in the business of those two things, and we should be all day, every day, right? And if you're not on the phone or you're not in person with a prospective client or an actual client, then the next best thing, or in many cases, even a better thing, is to be in front of them on the web and on social media. And that's what your content is, right? So it builds that trust, it creates those new relationships. And then Kyle talked about being discovered. And that's that's a hard to, at least initially when you're getting going, that's a hard to quantify and understand benefit. But I can tell you it's probably one of the most actually valuable benefits of creating content. And it's one of your biggest returns on investment when you get a brand new potential buyer or seller out of the blue that you've never heard of, never connected with, you've never marketed directly to them, and then they come find you. Like, that is worth, 10, 100, 1,000 times whatever money and time you invested to create that content. A couple more here. I think this one's pretty good too. It's practice, right? So when you're creating content and you're sharing a message, or you're writing something down, or you're, whatever type of content you're creating, you're recording something, like, you're practicing what it is that you should be doing every other minute of your day as a realtor, right? You're practicing speaking to buyers, you're practicing speaking to sellers, you're practicing demonstrating your market knowledge, you're practicing explaining why you should, understand this pricing in this market, or why you should make an offer, or why you should list your house, etc. So it's amazing practice. And then the last one, as Kyle was kind of starting to share, again, this one's hard to expect, but like, every one of us has something that we know that we can offer to somebody out there that we don't think is valuable, but to them is extremely valuable. So like, some of the early content Kyle was talking about was, back in the day, he was just like reviewing social platforms like CRM stuff and different things like that, right? And you would be so surprised that people are watching this stuff that you don't even think is relevant or valuable to them. And out of the blue, they're like, hey, I watched your video about that and that. You're like, I'm up in Wisconsin bumping into a few family members here and there. And I literally have had 3 family members this week tell me that they watch my stuff online. My stuff's not necessarily geared for a NASA scientist and a therapist and all this, but they're watching it. They're watching that content. They're getting value. As Kyle said, they're feeling more connected to you, and you're getting in deeper relationships. So absolutely.
Yep. Oh, yours muted at the end there. But yeah, and actually, as we were talking too, I thought of another benefit. I think this is huge. And this is something why I think in the last 4 to 5 months, mine has really, my content creation has had to step up, is because also the biggest thing I think is that it's also scaling, right? Like, as you begin to work with a lot of other people and you begin to scale your business, whatever that is, you find that you're asked the same questions, or people struggle with the same things like time and time again. And I only have so many hours in the day. So it's like, if I helped everybody one-on-one with the same thing that I'm constantly hearing, that would take up all my time. And for a long time, that's what I did. But now it's like, I realize, most people have similar questions. Like they all, especially in real estate, like they usually boil down to, a lot of the same things. And so it's like, man, if I can create one video, or like now what I do is I do Zoom calls with agents that are on my team. I run an expansion team across the US. I've got agents in multiple states. And what I'll do is, if an agent has a question, at this point, I don't meet up face to face with them, even if they're in San Antonio. I meet agents on Zoom, just like we're doing here. And I record the Zoom call whenever I create it. And then I put it into my library, right? Like, because if that person has a question, chances are there's going to be, like Curtis said, probably hundreds, if not thousands of people that have that exact same question. And it could be the most like random, you think specific question that it's like, nobody's going to, be curious about this. But then, you'd be so surprised. Like, you get found, you get, people that watch those videos. Like Curtis said, like a good example of that was, like, I think a year and a half ago, I had an agent that he was asking about, I think it was Agent Legend was, it's like a text messaging platform that real estate agents can use. And it's called Agent Legend. And I was like, oh man, no worries. Like, I didn't even have a YouTube channel. This is like literally my very first video I ever put on YouTube. And I was like, I'll create a video. I'll save my screen. I'll create a video about, Agent Legend, the demo of it. Like, I'll show you it on my screen. I'll record it. I'll kind of talk about it as I'm going over it, and I'll send it to you. Well, when I got to the point of sending to him, I was like, man, how do I send this? Do I put it in an email? I don't know. Well, I'll put it on this YouTube channel. So literally I put it on my YouTube channel. It was the very first video. I didn't think of anything of it. And then I didn't even like do anything with it, like at all. Like, I just put it on there. And now I like look back, I think I've got like 500 or 600 views on that one video alone. And I'm like, holy crap. Like, this is just I put, Agent Legend demo, for the guy. I've since went back and kind of like added description and all that kind of stuff now. But even before I did all that, I mean, I had hundreds and hundreds of views on it. And and so anyways, you just got to be thinking of this as like a long-term thing. It's like, if you could do a video a week, right, of something, like over the course of a year to 2 years, you're gonna have 50 or 100 videos. It's almost the idea of having like, passive income or something like that. Like, but it's like the content version of it, right? Like, so instead of, you going out and buying a rental property, which, as we know, like, you buy a rental property, it's going to continue to pay you month over month down the road. Like, it's almost like that with content, which content, as we had talked about, one of the benefits is providing you business. And so like, you have all these little pieces of content out there that people are finding, they're discovering you for, and then later on down the road, that provides business back to you in whatever it is that you're trying to get business in, right? So
absolutely, that's a
yeah.
cool analogy, dude. I like that analogy, and I think it plays completely. And one more thing that you sparked while you were talking there for me, back to like one of the reasons why we talked about, being known and creating new relationships. And Sylvia put something cool in the chat that Grant Cardone says, right? It's all about being discovered and people know who you are. Like, when you don't share content, what you're doing is you're letting the audience who is paying attention to you actually decide your story for themselves, right? So they're deciding if you're a successful realtor or not a successful realtor. They're deciding if you're primarily work with buyers or you primarily work with sellers. They're deciding if you're, techie or non-techie. They're deciding your entire story for you if you're not putting that content out there and allowing them to understand who you are. So as you put the content out there, as you celebrate your victories, as you share, as you be helpful, as you offer value for free, then they're watching you tell your story and you're creating the brand that you want in their minds. But if you're not doing that, they're doing it for themselves, whether you know it or not. So that's another huge benefit of putting your content out there.
Yeah, it's funny because I think most of us as realtors, like myself included, like I kind of like, I don't know, I don't want to look at myself like a salesperson. In fact, like I don't even want to be a good sales. Like, I don't want to be that salesy person. We all say that, right? Like, we always try and differentiate ourselves, like in the public eye, like, oh, we don't want to be like classified like a used car salesperson, right? Like, that's how we don't want to be viewed, or we don't want to look at ourselves. And most of us tell ourselves that. And so like, by creating content and having that being out there, the way I look at that is like, you're attracting business versus having to sell people on it. And so since I don't want to sell people on why they need to use me in the first place, like, that's a very viable strategy for me. Like, I don't want to do anything else other than attract people to me. And I was like, I wish that I knew this, how to do this 5 years ago, 6 years ago, when I first got started in the general real estate. Hell, I wished I would have started this 10 years ago when YouTube was just kind of starting and all my videos would be, ranked even higher. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like, if you start this library early on, and it's not too late. That's the thing, is I think people think, oh man, I missed this boat. And I'll be honest with you, like, and this kind of gets in maybe the next segment, is, a lot of times, people think like, well, should I blog? Like, do I write? Do I do video? Should I create a podcast? Like, what's the right approach to take with content creation? Should I just be putting things on Facebook, on Instagram, or whatever, right? Like, where do I even start? And here's kind of my general view, and I'm open to, hearing feedback, criticism, whatever. But, I look at like the organic, like, writing thing. Like, if you're a writer, you should definitely do blogs, right? Like, I'm not a writer. Like, I never have been. Anytime I have writing, I let Chrissy, my wife, kind of either, rehash it, or, I kind of just put like chicken scratch down, and then she kind of like writes it out to where people can understand it. 'Cause I'm not a writer, but I do like creating video. Like, I have no problem being on a camera. It feels like, to me, I can create video a lot faster than I can write something out. When I write, it takes hours because I just like don't know what I'm doing. And, I kind of, and maybe I can improve, but for me, video is the right thing for me. Maybe for you, if you don't like being on video, but you don't like writing, maybe you got to, do podcasts to have audio out there. What I will say though, from just what I see in the space, I feel like the opportunity still lies with video right now. I still think that there's a lot of people that are hesitant about video, that there's not a lot of, there's not as much good video content out there as there probably is with, blogs and SEO and trying to get ranked on that, as quickly. I think video, first off too, the power of video is, of course, that you can gain trust a lot quicker. I think when people see you, they, hear you talking, I think there's a big power to that. And in our business, especially as real estate agents, like, gaining trust is super important. So if like there's a way that, I can spend 1 hour, and it's going to be creating, a video or a blog post, like, I'm going to do it a video because I think it's multifaceted. Like, you're going to get discovered from it. You're going to gain trust from it. but that's just me. But if you're like totally anti it, you can still do the content creation on blogs. But I don't know. I think that's kind of my thought. And that's why I've taken this approach of going down video, because I still think there's a huge opportunity within YouTube, within, video, all that kind of stuff to do it. What I will say, like an overall kind of strategy that I would, and I think so, and I was making this mistake for a very long time, was that I would do all of this content creation and I would put it on like Facebook or Instagram or something like that. And the problem with those platforms is that they don't live on forever. It's not what you would call evergreen, in the sense that it's going to like, be searched and found like tons of times. So I've like lost 3 or 4 years, because I've been on Facebook, I've been on Instagram, and I create stuff that takes my time. Like we all spend hours and hours and hours on these social media platforms, but it's like you're putting all this stuff out there and then it's like gone. Whereas the power that I truly see between having a blog, between having a YouTube channel, between having a podcast, is literally people will search for that stuff 2 years later. Like there's going to be people that have questions about things you're doing today that will be, maybe coming across that in their stage of their business 2 years from now, that are going to look up something. And when you have something that you created, like they can go back and find that and then discover you. And then they can discover all the new stuff that you're doing, because if you've been consistent and you keep doing it, that's how they get connected to you. And so, I think that's the real cool thing behind this, is like when you go to a platform like YouTube, blogging, podcasts, and when I say blogging, that's like, having your own website, your own domain where you put your blog posts on, and they can, go and do Google research, or, searching something on Google and find your post, a year later or whatever. Like that's what I'm talking about, creating that type of content. If you just create an awesome video and you put it on Facebook, like without putting it on, something else like that, you're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage. I mean, I think now what I've kind of come to terms with is that like I put everything on my website, like my YouTube videos, I'll create it on YouTube. I can, make a blog post about it on my website. And then even now what I'm going to start to do is probably start to kind of, change all of the coding into these videos and just making them podcasts, right? Because I'm not really showing a whole lot of screens and stuff like that. Somebody could listen to this in their car. So you can actually do one thing that becomes 3, right? But the cool thing, and then you use the social media platforms to just help advertise those different pages, those different YouTube videos that you're creating. Like that's what Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff should be used for if you're, in the content creation space. And of course, you're going to use it for a whole bunch of things. But on around content creation, you should, host it onto these different platforms and then use social media to push people to that content, to at least get the views kicked off and to, get, some juices flowing to that content. But don't just put it on these platforms like Instagram and Facebook and think that that's going to be your strategy, because, a year later, like nobody's going to find that stuff. It's just not going to happen. So, all right, I'll let Curtis jump in and see if I missed anything there, or if anybody wants to jump in, honestly, that I missed, or ideas behind that.
We're go for it.
I want to help reiterate video, because you're right. Video is it's the #1 traffic source on the internet. And the thing you mentioned writing, and you sit like myself too. Like when I sit there and I try to write content, I'll sit there for 10 to 20 minutes trying to figure out what to write. Whereas with video, you just say what comes to mind and it rolls off your tongue like you're having a normal conversation. The other thing about video is that I learned attending a social media class is a really cool trick is you make a bunch of videos. And if you're not a video person, you can have those videos transcribed into blogs and transcribed into posts. The guy that taught the class, he makes videos, but he wrote a book by having the videos transcribed instead of writing. So that's like a little hack or a little tip. You can use that. And say you make a video, you don't like the audio, like you don't appreciate how you look. You can have like an artist make a cartoon of the video or something like that. So video is I think that's the best way to go about things. Don't sit there and write, don't sit there and blog. Like make a video and have that transcribed. Like it's easy to have videos transcribed these days. So video, to me, that's the best way to go about it. And it's, like I said before, it's the #1 traffic source on the internet. Compared to reading, we retain 10% of the information we receive when reading. When we're watching a video, it goes up to about 90%.
I believe that, man. That's so powerful. I appreciate that. That's good stuff, man. Yeah, and I know I've looked into that transcribing, and I'm sure Curtis could chime in. He's probably looked into it as well. But yeah, I mean, there's like if you go to like Fiverr, they've got services on there,
Exactly.
Fiverr. If you go on Upwork or any of these places where you can hire virtual assistants, you'll find people that are willing to do that type of work where, yeah, they'll take your stuff. And literally like, that's all that I'm talking about is like, I'll create video. I'll have somebody transcribe it for me. I'll make it into, take the, MP or just the audio file and make it into a podcast. And, it's a huge strategy. If you look at all these people that are, doing content creation, I think that is, something that a lot of them are doing. And so, and then it's just being consistent beyond that, and that's probably the hardest part of it all is just the consistency aspect about it. But like, I want to relate this a little bit kind of back. Like if you're a real estate agent, like what does this look like for you? Like, what are we actually talking about? Like, cause we're all in kind of, there's different businesses and like what I'm doing might not be exactly what you're looking to do. I'm creating content around, for real estate agents. Right. But like, you might just be like, hey, like, what does this mean? Like if I'm trying to get more buyers and sellers, right? Like it's basically the same thing. Like we got to start with, first off, keyword research, right? Like what do people, buyers and sellers, your target demographic, what are they looking for? Like what information are they lacking? Hopefully if you're doing this business, you're working with people already, like what questions do they normally have? Like what things that holds them up from, working with you or working to buy a house altogether? Like, what are the common themes? I think there's a lot of them, that you can start talking about, you can start creating videos about. But just like around the buyer side, right? People always have questions about, like getting approved for a house. They have questions about the process. They have questions about like where to start, like, certain things like that. And then you can talk even more, like you can go and do more in-depth things like, homes in your area, right? Like maybe there's a neighborhood or something that, people constantly like, they want to know about, like it's a buzz neighborhood or just something like that. And you can do a little, video about that neighborhood and, the average prices in that neighborhood, the average days on market in that neighborhood, like what the HOA fees are for that neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. You'd be so surprised because, and when you go into like things like that, like it's much easier to rank than when you're trying to rank for like, real estate social media training, right? Like, then you're going against the whole nation, right? Like of other people that are trying to like get realtors' attentions. If you're just trying to like, make some good video content for like different neighborhoods in your area, you'd be very surprised. There's a lot less competition. I'm not saying that nobody's doing it. I'm sure there's other realtors in your area that kind of know or think that they, want to do this. So there might not be zero, but I can tell you there is very little, like, especially when you kind of go into like what we call like the long tail keywords and kind of the niche things where you're like really kind of finding like a specific neighborhood, a zip code, I mean, I think that's the kind of the approach you have to take. I think that it'd be good for you as a realtor to like, take a general approach, like maybe do a video about selling a house, do a video about the buying process, do a video about, you and you being a real estate agent in your market and like what your market is and like the city as a general. And then, I think it's important to start kind of branching off and doing the small little other things, because what's going to happen is when those people actually search for those long tail keywords or those like, houses for sale in 78247, like a zip code in my area, which people will search for that and say my video comes up, they're going to watch that video. And then they're going to look and see, okay, well, what else does he have on his channel? Right. And then when I have got on there, like about me as a real estate agent, that's when the real power comes in. And that's when people start to like give you phone calls. They already have the trust built around you. So like, that's like the overall picture of this whole thing. I think that, you got to do the big overview videos because people will see that. You might not rank for it. Like there's big agents in, say San Antonio, Texas that are already ranking ahead of time. Don't concern yourself with that right away, right? Like just have that video out there. You might get some views from it right away. You might not get enough views until later when your other videos are getting discovered and then more people are funneling into those bigger videos. But either way, I think it's important to kind of have those and then the branch off ones. So I see we got a hand raised. Tammy, you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Hi,
Hey,
Kyle.
Tammy. How are
Hey,
you?
I just Good. How are you?
Good, good.
I wanted I wanted to add, I've been doing videos off and on for a while. I use Big View as a teleprompter. And so I kind of go out and kind of figure out what I want to say. I may not say it exactly that way. And then it's free actually with a watermark. And I just put my logo over the watermark.
Oh,
And
nice.
then what I do, yeah, and then what I do is after I do my video, I actually copy and paste that teleprompter, the transcription, and I use it for my blog.
Nice.
And so I just go, yeah, I just go out and change a few things on there on my blog, and I have instant blog information.
And it was called
So I
what?
just
Tell
wanted to
me.
share that. It's called Big View.
Bigview.com. Here, I'm gonna. Oh, there you go. Oh, there you go. Perfect, Curtis. That's what I was gonna do is type it into the chat. He put it in there. bigvu.tv is the website.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep. And it's free. Again with the watermark, and I just put my logo over the watermark on my videos. So no, and it's really easy to use. You can upload to your Google Drive, and then I download it into my video program. So pretty cool.
I
I just
love
wanted
it.
to share.
I love it. Like, to give you an example, like what I would do, like with that information and just like this information that we've talked about today in general, like if I was getting back into real estate sales, like today for the very first time, like I had nothing built up, where I would literally start is I would research different zip codes in my area that are popular, right? In different neighborhoods, like the buzz keywords that are going on. And you can research that by like, if you go, so let me just actually kind of give some specifics here. I like to, this is where if you're on a podcast, you wouldn't be able to follow along here, but you'd have to go back to my YouTube video here. But I'm going to share my screen. I want to share this desktop here. So, all right, so you can see here, I'm going to start a new tab here, KW Finder. So this is where I look for my keywords, kwfinder.com, right? And so within here, it's not expensive. I think it's, I don't know, $20 a month or something to be able to do this. But you can, like, for instance, put in anything like let's say homes for sale 7247, right? That's a zip code by me. And I could see how many people are searching that keyword on Google every single month. And it'll help me kind of like top grade to figure out like, where do I want to focus my efforts beginning, right? So like I do that, right? And then what this does is it actually shows me all the different zip codes, right? Like similar zip codes, the searches per month. So like you can kind of start to find like houses for sale in San Antonio. Like what are they going to find you for, right? And like make that be, how you kind of figure out like what you want to make your videos, like, because you need to start with kind of the research part of it first. But like if I wanted to create, my first video, like I said, I think it's good to have some big ones, houses for sale in San Antonio. You probably want to rank for that kind of a thing eventually. But in the beginning, there might be more competition for it. And actually, if you see here, this like keyword difficulty kind of tells you, the difficulty of getting ranked for that. But then, some of these, more specific ones, like an area, like a neighborhood or something like that. Like if I put a neighborhood, right? It's going to usually be a little bit easier to rank for these more long tail things than it is for the big ones. And so, I can't tell what this one is. I got to click on it here to see what it'll be. But even still, like that's a neighborhood in my area, 480 people searching that a month. And what I would do is I would literally, and see, because this is where I thought I knew this kind of stuff 3, 4, 5 years ago when I was growing my real estate sales business, but I never took action because what I thought was, man, I'm going to have to like get a video guy to go out there with me. And, and I'm gonna have to go stand in front of this neighborhood or maybe walk through it and like, create this awesome video for this neighborhood. What I would do today is I would sit here in front of my computer. I might share my screen. It doesn't, I mean, you want it to be as high quality as you can make it. Like, I'm not saying just put crap out there, but like, but getting something out there is better than nothing, and starting to get discovered is better than not. And I would like provide a lot of value. I would say like, hey, this is Kyle here. I want it today. I'm talking about Timberwood Park. And, the houses in this area, typically, on average sell for this amount, per square foot. And, of course, this is 2019. So I'd let them know like, hey, I'm recording this at this time, but then, average days on market is this and this, the homes, ages range from, this year to this year. They're still currently being built. There's a couple options, like you could buy a lot in here if you want and build, and just go through like that and create a little like 5-minute video for it. Right. And boom, put that up and get that out there, and then do another one, right? Like do one on 78260. Like you could literally create 10 videos a day if you really wanted to and you were focused on it. And versus what I did is I thought I overthought it. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to go to all these different places. I'm gonna have to go like interview people that live there, and I'm gonna have to like make these things like high quality. Well, and they're only getting like a couple hundred searches a month. Like, it's probably not worth your time or investment to like go out and like, make some massive production out of it, right? But now when you do something that's like going to be something you want to rank high on, like your San Antonio video, that might be where you probably might invest a little bit more time or money into it and do something professional or whatever, where it's like looking really good, because you're going to need it to look professional if you do have plans to rank for that down the road. But then two, like if that's the one that you're funneling everybody back to see about you, it's worth your time to like make it, pretty good. But all these other ones that are kind of like the longer tail stuff, having information out there, you're going to be ahead of 99% of the realtors in your area, because they're not going to have anything to do like that. And so then it's cool too, because then what ends up happening is like, say now you're working with clients and they want to go, look in a certain zip code or area. Now you're the expert, because you'd be like, hey, you know what? That's great. I'm excited to work with you. Tell you what, before we even start going out and looking, watch, this video, and send them the links for those 3 areas that you've already got in your library, because you've been creating these, right? How much of an expert do you look like now with them? Because they can go back and they can see what you talked about. And I would say like specific videos like this, like if you're creating videos for zip codes and neighborhoods, they're probably relevant for 2 to 3 years. Like after that, you might have to go back and probably update them with some, new figures, because prices are going to change, things like that. But like literally, I mean, you can create all these videos, and have them be relevant and good for quite some time. And then all you got to do is just, update the old ones every now and then with something better and newer and whatever. So anyways,
hey Kyle,
yeah.
no, stay here for a second.
Yep.
This is a very, I think, meaty part of this conversation, guys. So let me flip it for people's brains who don't work exactly like Kyle's, and let me take you another direction, right? So Kyle was suggesting that if you're starting your content creation, you want to make a plan today, you could literally start researching your market, nail down the zip codes he referenced as an example of how you get started. Think about it from the other end. Look at everybody you're servicing right now as a current client. Where are your searches or where are your listings? And start making videos there. And just be like, look, this is a buyer that I'm working with. We're searching in this school district. Make a 7-minute video about that school district. Think about it. Think about that buyer as your target audience. And then think about every other would-be buyer in that area as your target audience. And make something that's high quality for them, but make something that's reusable and repurposable for everybody. So don't say, hey, Kyle, here's the video that I promised you I was going to make you, man. Say, all right, I'm going to go over the Northeast Independent School District, all the homes in this area under $300,000 right now. I'm going to show you my screen, blah, 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 right? So like if you can't figure out what to create things initially out of necessity that are helpful, but just be strategic when you create them and make sure that they're repurposable and they're going to be good value for YouTube. They're going to be easy to, advertise on your social media, all that stuff Kyle was talking about. And then one other thing that I'll pull in here, when he was talking about the strategy earlier, let me repeat it and lay it out for anybody who's kind of keeping notes and keeping track of what we're talking about here. The strategy that he talked about from a distribution perspective was, he said he creates a video. He starts by putting it on his website as a blog post. Then he puts that into YouTube. Then he talked about converting that into a podcast for himself. And then he said, use social media platforms to advertise. I'm going to give you one more bullet point about what you use social media platforms for. You can use social media platforms to experiment. Okay. So here's an example. You're out in a zip code and you're at a builder and you just decide to be brave and turn on your phone. And you experiment with capturing content at that new builder in that area, right? And you put that on Facebook, or you do it as a Facebook Live or whatever. You're not even thinking strategically enough yet to build it as a YouTube video. And then you see if that resonates, right? If people comment, if people like, if people engage with that. Well, hey, that's something really interesting and helpful. Let me now redo it or do it even better at my computer and out and about, and make that a YouTube video. So that's the other benefit and value to social media, is you figure out what lands, what works, what people like. Because if they're engaging there, then they're definitely going to be looking for that kind of content on your YouTube and stuff. And not to say if they're not, that doesn't mean it's something they're not looking for, but that's another big benefit to doing your stuff and creating your stuff and practicing all on Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media platforms. So there's a couple ways to go about forcing yourself to create. But the bottom line that Kyle was saying, and you should be getting from this, is you just got to make something. You just got to start getting some stuff out there, and you're going to figure out what works, what doesn't work, what you like, what you don't like. And if you just start small, as Kyle said, instead of overthinking it, what you're going to find is the coolest thing about content creation, in my opinion, guys, it's kind of like telling a good story. Like, it gets more fun as it goes if you're doing it right? If you create a small 5-minute video about a zip code, and then you're out showing homes in that zip code, and then you're eating in that zip code, and then you're doing whatever else in that zip code. Now you have 4, 5, 6 videos that tell this compelling story. They do exactly what we were talking about earlier. They build trust, they make connections, all that good stuff. But you can't put that 6 sequence video series together until you do one video. And you can't think through that 6 video sequence series until you've done 100 different series, right? So you just got to go do a couple videos to get your juices flowing and get your wheels turning.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I mean, one of the most motivating things for me now about this whole thing is like every time I create something, like I feel good about it, because I'm like, man, you know, I'm creating something right now and it's going to like last, right? Like it's going to it's creating value for, you know, for today. Cause I mean, there's people that already, you know who I am, and it's providing value to them today, but it's like creating value down the road for people and for myself, you know, for years to come. And so it's like every time I create that, it's like, man, this is powerful, you know? And so that's something that I think is super, super cool.
If nothing else, your sons and daughters will think you're cooler because you're on YouTube. They're like, oh yeah, my dad's a YouTuber. He has 200 subscribers and like 80 views, but he's a YouTuber.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I know. And one of the things that I want to share too, so like KW Finder is a good keyword research for like Google, and you know, finding out what people are searching Google for. And most of the time that's pretty relevant for YouTube as well, because like if they're searching for it on Google, that translates over to YouTube for the most part too, especially if it's like a question type of a thing, like, you know, how many, you know, or like what's the average price, or, you know, like all this type of stuff, or how do I go about buying a house? Like if they're asking that to Google, like, you know, chances are they're going to ask it in YouTube. But then even still, most of the time, you know, as you see, like when you search for something, if you're ranked for it in YouTube, you're usually one of the occupying the first spots on Google. So like, even if they search on Google, they're going to come across your video. And a lot of people are more, you know, inclined to click on the video if there's a video about it than they are to click on just like, you know, a blog page or whatever. Like if there's something that specifically speaks to what I'm asking and it's a video, I'm like, oh, I'm going to check this out, you know? So I think that's the power there. But if you do want a specific like keyword research kind of tool for YouTube, I found a really cool one. It's called TubeBuddy, TUBE Buddy, BUDDY. TubeBuddy is a pretty cool tool that I use for YouTube, and it's not only for like keyword research and planning your YouTube videos, but it's also very helpful for like optimization and like when you are actually creating content. And YouTube videos, it's going to help you optimize them and like use the right tags. And there's a whole, you know, video, I'm sure there's a whole nother training we can do, another topic about like optimization and, you know, getting the most juice out of this content you're creating. But yeah, TubeBuddy, you can look that up. It's the same. I think there's another one that's its competitor called vidIQ, VIDIQ. I use TubeBuddy myself, but I think both of them are do pretty similar things. But anyway, so that's kind of—
Hey, pause. If you have a YouTube channel right now and you're at your computer and not your phone, go to TubeBuddy and install it as a Chrome extension. You can do that like right now in 45 seconds. Thanks,
there
Kyle.
you go.
Just
Yeah,
install.
here, let me just, I'll show you. I kind of want to show you like what a YouTube channel looks like. If you've never seen like the back end of a YouTube channel, you're like, man, like what does this stuff even look like? Like it's kind of exciting. Like I'm going to show you something here that at least it excites me, right? Like if I come here and go to my channel. So first off, TubeBuddy is right here. Like when you install it, like you're going to see like this little thing here and then this up here. But let's see here. Oh, of course, now it's going to hang for some reason. All right. So here we go. So like you can see, here's all like my videos, right? It tells you views, comments, all that kind of stuff. But one of the cool things, I like to go into like the analytics of them all and see. Yeah. So like, look at this. So, I mean, like in just the last like little bit, like this is the last 28 days, but if I go like last 365 days, yeah, I mean, you can see like, I mean, it's slow, right? Like those are like, how many views that I got, I was getting 5, 8, 10, but now like literally, I mean, the last few days, over 100 views a day on all of my videos. And it's because my videos have been out there to rank longer, but then I also have more content out there for people to come across, right? So like, as you create more and more and more, it starts to, spike. And you can see all these spikes. You're like, what the heck are all these spikes? That's usually like down here, you can see, oh, you published a video that day. So you had a spike. I published a video that day, you had a spike. So like you can see that. But even when I don't have a video published, my overall is a lot higher than it was before. So that's kind of cool, right? Like, and then like watch time, it's like crazy to think that literally like people spent 61,000 minutes watching content that I've created. Like that's crazy to me. And I know, and that's like nothing. Like that's not too much in my opinion. I mean, I think there's people that have billions probably of minutes watched on their channel. But at least for me, that feels, like that's pretty substantial. So, anyways, but yeah, you can see like subscribers, how many subscribers you're gaining a day, and don't be discouraged. Like literally, I mean, even in the beginning, I mean, I had no subscribers, right? And even still, I've only got 200, I think now. But it's growing, I'm starting to get more subscribers consistently daily now than I ever was in the past. And so, it'll come. It just takes a little while to kind of do all that stuff. But one of the cool things I wanted to show you, so because I told you guys early on in the call about that first video that I created. So here, let me scroll all the way to my last page of videos that I created. Let's see here. Yeah, Agent Legend demo. There we go. 570 views on it. And y'all should, I mean, go and watch it. You'll see the quality. It's like literally me screen recording, just talking to a guy. I might have even said his name in it. I don't even remember. Like, I don't even think I made it generalized.
You probably did.
I think because I was making it for this agent out in Florida. And I might have even said his name, but I put it up there, right? And now 570 people have watched it. 8 people have liked it. It's crazy, right?
Because Agent Legend is something that's so interesting to people, and people are using it and looking for it. Just like the restaurant in your neighborhood is interesting to people, and just like that builder's name is interesting to people, and just like interest rates are super interesting to people right now. Like what's crazy is the content inside the video, guys. Like Kyle's showing sort of the title and the tags and stuff like that. If you get that right, inside the video, your content could be, who cares? Like it doesn't even have to be at all good. It's just something, because people are searching and finding the results based on that. Of course, the content keeps them coming back. It gets them connected to you. Like it's got to be compelling and all that stuff, but it doesn't really matter at first. What matters is that you just do something and you just put it out there, and it gets better and better over time. Like this creation and distribution, that's a muscle, and if you're not like working this muscle yet, okay, but you just got to get in the gym, and don't expect to be good for a year or 2 years or 3 years, but eventually you'll get it and people will appreciate it.
One of the most encouraging things you guys can do right now is like go to YouTube. And if you're already like, you use YouTube and all that kind of stuff, and you have people that you subscribe to, one of the most encouraging things you can do is like go to somebody that you subscribe to, right? Like, so Graham Stephen, I love watching his content, right? He's got over 700,000 subscribers now, but then go to their videos and then sort it by the oldest videos, right? Like
go watch their early ones.
And go watch like their earliest videos, right? Like, and like see how this like here, you're like, watch this, how to get leads in real estate, right? And hold on one sec. All right, we'll do this. Skip there. So like, and you like watch like how they do it, and they're so like, they're not what it looks like today, right? Like this is like he's recording it with his iPhone here, like, right? It's like, but then you go look at his videos today and they're much more polished and all that. But when he got found, when it's not like it was super well crafted, right? You just got stuff out there, you tag them the right way and they will get watched. And so anyways, I
47,000 views on that basic video.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Exactly. So that's where it's like, if you want some encouragement, go do that, right? Go find anybody. Because if, they're going to still have their old videos there because they're not going to want to get rid of them because they're already probably ranking pretty good. So you can sort it by their oldest stuff and go watch what they did in the beginning. And I guarantee you it's not going to look like what it does today, like their polished videos. So anyways.
And it's a journey. People like to be part of your journey when you first starting off to where you are now. When you start off with the iPhone and the low quality, and then you get up to the professional videos, like you go through some of these old videos and you'll see like people, I've been watching you since way back when, and they're a loyal fan, a loyal customer. People like to be part of that journey and see you grow. People like to be part of that.
I absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more. That is a good point. I love it.
I was going to pull in something from last week, Kyle. So last week, guys, we were talking about just using social media in general, right? And what you should do every day and the different, ways that you should kind of mix up your social media strategically. We talked about mixing it up between professional and lifestyle. We talked about being intentional and purposeful. We talked about using the right tags and hashtags and descriptions. All the same applies when we're talking about video. Like video is just a microcosm of your larger social media strategy, right? So like what Jerome was saying is 100% right. People get connected to pain. People get connected to stories. Like a lot of what you can do with your videos, it doesn't have to be perfect, polished, and precise. It can be real and raw and authentic. And you're taking people, sometimes behind the scenes, you're giving them a glimpse into your real personality. That's what they love. It's exactly what he said. They follow the journey. What you're going to find is people are going to watch a lot of your stuff before they latch onto you, if they like you, right? If they watch like one video and they get a little bit of helpful information about a zip code, cool. But if they watch a second and a third and they see you taking your son or daughter out to a showing, and then they see you, get into a closing late and saying like, oh man, just got to this closing and here's this and here's that, but here's how it all went. And here's what you guys should keep in mind when you're buying or selling. Like all that stuff is what's going to kind of pull them in. And then it's going to do what Kyle said early on, which is the goal of this content. It's going to attract them to you. It's going to make it so that you don't have to go out and find your next buyer and seller lead. They're going to come to you. They're going to reach out. They're going to comment on your YouTube. They're going to send you a private message through social. And that, like Kyle was talking about being excited about your views and all that stuff. That's pretty exciting. It is. But it's the most exciting when you actually get an engagement, when they reach out to you. Like, I'm not kidding. I don't get a lot of comments on my YouTubes, but when I do, I'm so excited. I can't wait to write that person back and help them, send them more stuff, maybe make a follow-up video just for that one commenter, because that was a person that I didn't go out and actively find. They came and found me. Like, that is the magic stuff. Like, I'll give one more story back to social media and to kind of hammer home Jerome's point. So I was a pretty timid social media user for the majority of my adult life, meaning I didn't even post on Facebook. I didn't post about my professional life or my personal life. And about 6 months ago, approximately, I changed that stance. And I said, okay, I'm going to get out there and I'm creating all this content. At the time, I was keeping it private. I was only creating it for my clients and for my agents on my team. And I started to go more public and started to put this stuff out there. So I created something that was kind of a combination of video and long writing. So I put it on a Facebook post, had that video somewhere else, and I just kind of shared a little bit about my personal life, and it had sort of a professional context, right? I was talking about an event I had just gone to. Well, I had somebody reach out privately to me that I had never talked to before, ever. I sort of knew them through social media, and they had gone through a major situation in their life, a tragedy, and they related to my situation. And now we're in a relationship, both professionally and personally. She's a friend. We're engaged in business together. And like all that happened just because I put up this post on Facebook. I just created some content. It was thoughtful. It was purposeful. It was intentional. And a whole new relationship was created just because of that. And somebody that I could really help, and all because she made that connection to me through what I shared. Like, that's an example of how this stuff all actually works together.
Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. Well, guys, I mean, I know we're getting close to the top of the hour. I do want to open it up just to see maybe if anybody's got questions, anything we didn't cover, or thoughts, feedback from today. Let's see. I think I see your hand raised, Tammy. I don't know if you have another question, if that's still from earlier, but let's see. Does anybody else? What else do we got? Who's going to start doing this today? Ian Flanagan, you going to go out there and create some content today? You got the studio behind you.
Let's create a piece of content right now, real time,
All right.
Right here.
Look at that.
So just to make an example of this. Hey guys, I'm live with Kyle Handy, the Monday Mastermind for real estate agents. We're talking about selling real estate, increasing our business. You know, it's the selling season right now. So I got Kyle right there.
I love it. What's up, guys?
They can't hear you, man. I have you on my head. But either way, just wanted to give a shout out to Kyle Handy, Curtis Dixon for putting on this awesome mastermind. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Love it.
That easy. Go, Ian.
Guys, I'm telling you, the worst thing that you can do, and I mean, I made this mistake, was I just overthought it, right? Like, you know, you overthink it. You think you got to do too much, or, you know, it's got to be, you know, this well-crafted thing. Like, you'll get better over time. Just don't overthink it. Like, go out there, put out some content. And like Jerome said, you might have some limiting beliefs about, like, well, maybe you just don't like the way you look on camera. That's not an excuse. There's ways you can go around it, right? Like, make it into a podcast, transcribe it into, you know, into a blog post, put some, you know, cartoon figures over it, right? Like, do something, right? Like, you can easily create these pieces of content that's going to help. And then who knows what that'll lead to. Like, maybe you eventually get, you know, more confident in your skills, your abilities, whatever it might be. And, you know, one of the cool things, and I'll just wrap it up with this, is kind of my last thought about all of this. As I've created more content, I became more wise in whatever it is that I'm creating content about. Like, I become the master of it, right? Like, you don't learn something really until you can, like, until you teach it. Like there's things that I'm teaching you today that I'm still learning, but as I teach them, I get smarter in it because I'm like researching it, I'm talking about it, like, you know. And so, like, I mean, think of that in your, you know, in your craft, like in, you know, real estate sales, like, you know, you want to be an expert in your market. Well, go create 50 YouTube videos, and I guarantee you'll be a lot smarter than you are today, you know, in your market. Like, it's just going to happen. You're going to go and research these neighborhoods, these zip codes, these areas, whatever it might be. You're going to have to, you know, come up with content for it. And then you're going to go out there and talk about it and put it out there. So, I mean, you're just going to be smarter about it. So that's the other cool thing that Curtis wants to talk. I can tell.
Actually, I just have like a cramp. I'm sitting on like this bench in my sauna, Kyle called it. And I'm like, oh, just moving all around. No, I do want to hammer home what Kyle said, though, because I'm a firm believer in it. And if you think back, you know, we didn't plan this. Kyle and I don't actually rehearse. We just kind of jump on and go. But it's the same kind of message I brought up in the beginning, right? Like, content put out in public creates authority. And Kyle just talked about sort of being that teacher, right? If you can't teach it, you don't know it well enough. And it all kind of goes hand in hand, right? Like, when you are out there sharing this stuff, you are teaching others. And if you're prepared enough and practiced enough and researched enough, like, you're going to become a better expert, and your authority is going to be authentic and real and true, right? Like, and that authority that they're perceiving you actually do have, because you've spent the time and invested in actually putting this thought together and putting it out there. So if you can't teach it, you don't know it well enough. If you can't make a video about it, you don't know it well enough. I like that, Kyle. I think that's a good message. I want to ask Ian one more question, Ian, if you got a minute, just because, guys, the other thing that separates content creators from people who just wish they were creating content is that mindset that Ian Flanagan just demonstrated, right? Ian, what's the mindset you have to actually just be able to jump on a live video and share on a Monday morning at 10 a.m. with, I'm sure, your you know, baby in the background and your business and your phone going off? Like, what's that mindset? Talk a little bit about, help people decide to just go out there and do it today. What do you have to be thinking?
I mean, if you just have to do it. I mean, obviously in real estate, there's people that succeed at a high level and a lot of other people that are trying to figure it out. And the difference between the two are the people that actually block the time, execute it, make it happen, versus getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. Like, I would see people on threads be like, I'm thinking about starting a video, get whatever, what type of camera should I use? And everyone's throwing all these cameras. I was like, iPhone.
Who gives a shit? Use an iPhone. Exactly.
iPhone. Like, so look, there it is, guys. I just, there it is.
Yep. That's it.
So, I mean, it's literally that simple. You just don't overthink it, come up with an idea, shoot it, put it out there, keyword it, and move on. Yep. And, you know, another thing neat, I think a nugget that I pulled, the biggest nugget that I pulled away from you guys today was when Kyle was talking about being more strategic in the content that you place. So if you're talking about your neighborhood, your sphere of influence, your farm area, your schools, your restaurants and all that, like, if you do post that on Facebook, because that's the neat thing about Facebook is it can be very quick and very random, right? Boom, 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 you can get it out there. But you should take that video and either you do it yourself or have a virtual assistant, pull it down, transcribe it, what everybody was talking about, put that video on YouTube with all the keywords, because YouTube is a very powerful search engine. So the more that those keywords are being searched, your video will organically start coming up. So the simplest thing that I could say is just pick a few topics that you're really knowledgeable about and just educate people on them. Just share it. Share what you're excited about and just share what it is. So obviously real estate, maybe something about your children or your school or your dogs. If you don't have kids, just pick a few different topics and just consistently just shoot content about it. Just get over it. Get over the nervous jitters. Just do it.
Oh, I love it. All right. Well, Gabrielle, you had a question. I saw you said you had your hand raised.
Yeah, just curious what video editing equipment or programs do you use?
Yeah, so I use on my MacBook, I use Final Cut Pro. It's a bit advanced, I will say right now. I mean, it takes some time to learn it, and that's like a professional video editing, software. I know that most people probably could, utilize like iMovie if you're on like the Apple platform, probably to do that, which, is actually an app that you can download on your phone if you're taking video on your phone.
I've used that for some things, but I don't have a Mac.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. If you don't have a MacBook, I mean, I don't know, maybe there's some PC users on here about like what specifically they use on PC. But I know that on the Apple system, I use iMovie. You can use it on your phone. And honestly, like if you're taking stuff on your phone, like I don't think you need anything more than that. Just, keep doing it like that for now. And then once you get better and you want to start maybe using like a DSLR camera, or if you start using something else and you're going to be.
I bought a DJI Osmo Pocket.
Oh, perfect. So yeah, so you're importing footage. I mean, you could either import that footage to your phone. You probably have to look it up how to do that, but I'm sure there's a way that you can put that footage into your phone. And then you could edit it on iMovie on your phone if that's like what you want to stick with. Or if you have a PC and you're like, hey, I want to use my PC to edit this footage that I'm taking from my DJI, you just probably got to look it up. Like I know they've got, Adobe Premiere, which is like, you could use that on Mac or PC. But that's that's an advanced, professional level editing platform as well. And even for me, I tried using it and it was like very confusing.
Use your phone and start that journey that we talked about, like with the low grade videos. Use that, and then eventually when you create more videos, you can even outsource that video creation part with Fiverr.com. You don't even have to do that. You can have someone else do it for you.
Yep.
But start with start that journey. Start with the phone where it's like, oh, this guy's doing it in his basement, whatever. And then like start thinking about like when you get more videos and more content, then start thinking about the video editing aspect of it, because creating videos it's a lot that goes into it. Like Connor, he comes on this call, but he talked about how much you have to put into the videos, and you want to have those videos first and then start thinking about editing and making them more professional.
Yeah, Gabrielle, like literally 90 to 95% of the videos on my YouTube channel are unedited. Like, I mean, they're like, I just take this video from Zoom and I throw it on there. Like I might clip out the first 3 minutes because we're just kind of sitting around, right? Or whatever. And I might clip out the last 5 minutes if we're just standing around after the call. But that's it. Like I cut it and that's it. But I don't do any editing. And like, even like I was saying, like that video that I did on Agent Legend demo, it's just straight off my thing. So like what they're saying is true. Like all you have to do if you want, like don't even focus so much on like the video editing aspect, like right off the bat, like, if you want to use your tool that you bought, the DJI Osmo, like just to have like a little bit better quality, or like make it so it's not, if you're out on the go and you don't want it to be shaky, but then like try and do it to where you don't have to edit it very much, right? Like just be raw with it and then upload that, right? And keyword it, optimize
I like
it.
when you do the shorter clips and put them together.
Well, then, then all you need for that is literally, I mean, you can clip them like on your iPhone. Like if you just, find out how to get that DJI Osmo footage on your iPhone, and then literally within just your photos platform, when it goes into your camera roll, you can clip content from your camera roll, and it'll make separate clips,
Right.
So like, Like, and then that's it. Like, you don't have to put like banners over it, or, you know, like, I mean, that's maybe what you would use editing for. Or like, I mean, like for me, I create like lifestyle vlog videos. Like those are what, you know, I edit those. I mean, that takes me 10 hours to make something like that. And that's, again, though, that's just more my hobby. I'm doing that personally. You don't need to do all that, especially for like creating helpful, valuable videos for people. What people want is they just want, you know, one, like the information they're seeking, right? So if you can provide that, and then over time, as you get to be just better with posting and stuff like that, you might start to optimize and get better at your editing. You might put some, you know, extra pieces in there that you wouldn't have done before. But, you know, just take your footage, cut it, you know, splice it, which, I mean, there's probably hundreds of platform, you know, tools that you can use just to cut content. And then put that to your YouTube channel. So, yeah, I wouldn't get too.
I have a friend that I met. I've already done 2 videos this week, and we're together doing a bunch more this next week.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, I mean, for me, like I said, I would just put it, you know, get it to your phone, edit it on iMovie on your phone. That's probably the easiest way. And when I say edit, I mean just like cut it. You know, if you make a mistake or something, you want to cut that part out, you know, just splice or whatever. But iMovie is plenty enough to do that type of work for you.
Okay.
Yep.
And then where do you post these Monday calls?
These are all on my YouTube channel. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll see all the past calls put on there, and so yep, you can go there.
Hey Kyle, quick promo before we wrap up. I dropped my Facebook in the chat because I think I know almost everybody on here. I'm Facebook friends with a lot of people, but I wanted to promote that I am doing a class beginning tomorrow, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Central, every single Tuesday, week over week, called Database Fundamentals. So I'm going to be teaching database management. I'm going to be teaching database organization, how to leverage and maximize your database, and just wanted to throw that out here on today's call because I know a lot of folks on here, that's a hot topic all the time, is your database. And so if you're at my brokerage, then you can join, you know, through our brokerage. You'll know how to find the class. It's Tuesday at 11 a.m. Central. If you're not at our brokerage or you don't know how to find it, that's why I dropped my Facebook. Just connect with me and drop me a message through Facebook, and I'll get you into the class every single Tuesday, 11 Central. I'll always remind you guys on this Monday call. So if database is a hot topic for you, or you want to come in and grab a nugget, it's going to be a 1-hour weekly class starting tomorrow.
Dude, I love it. I'll be there. I want to hear that. That's going to
Thanks, man. I'm excited.
Absolutely. And real quick, guys, so Tammy just commented too, you can use Camtasia. It's easy to learn how to use it. I've never used that myself, but if you want to look into that.
That's what Gabrielle. I use.
Okay, cool. Camtasia, there you go.
Yeah, so Camtasia is a screen recording. It's a screen recording editor. So I got turned on to it from making videos from like PowerPoints. So if you ever want to explain anything to somebody, or if you're hiring virtual assistants and you're wanting to show them exactly like, hey, log into this system, do this, 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 and this. Log into this, do this, 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 and this.
Love it.
So Camtasia is just a screen capture, but you can also upload video. So that video that I just shot that I put on Facebook, I think it's got like, I don't know, 17 views already, bunch of likes. So other people are starting to look at it. Hopefully they'll share it. And that will attract people. And I keyword, hey, there's no better way to start your week off with other like-minded real estate pros, the mondaymastermind.com. Thank you, Kyle and Curtis, for always delivering great action, taking content to sell more real estate.
Perfect. Dude, I appreciate
So
that.
that's what it is right there. You guys can jump on there. You can share it. So I just took that video. It saved. So I have all my videos saved to my phone. So I literally just a second ago, I pulled up the video. I don't know if those of you that have Apple know what I'm talking about. Then I just airdropped the video to my desktop. So now I pull up. Do you mind if I share my screen real quick?
Yeah, hold 1 second. I got to make you co-host here. 1 sec. Let's see.
So just to show you how easy it is to edit a video.
There you go.
All right. So there's my Camtasia screen right there. Here's my video that I just loaded from my phone. So there it is.
Does anybody know?
Can y'all hear that?
No, I can't hear it.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I have my audio coming through my headphones. So anyway, so that's just real quick. You can throw it on there. And if I want to import anything, because I have like a little a timer, you know, like the old school movie, like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like if you have a bumper video, like if you're running any bumpers for like intro, outro on your videos, I can just come in here. I can insert it. I can move it over. I can slide it in there. I mean, I can pretty much do anything and everything. I can add the annotations to it, audio, video. I can lay it over there. I can add my YouTube handle, my Instagram handle. I can add an outro. I can enter in any type of music I want, and then boom, I click save, export, and then I just name the video and then click export, and boom, the video's saved to my desktop. Now I can upload it to YouTube or
yeah. Like and I assume that this is Camtasia is a it's because you're on a Mac, but does anybody know if PC, does it work on a PC as well?
It does, and it's a subscription. It's like, I think I paid $100 for the license.
Cool, awesome.
So,
there you go.
Yeah, it's a really, really easy, user-friendly, audio kind of video software, but it's designed for screen capture.
Okay,
So,
cool. Yeah,
it'll
that's
record full video. It'll record full videos too.
yeah. I was gonna say, just looking at it, I can definitely tell it looks like it's a lot simpler than using Final Cut Pro or Adobe Premiere.
Oh yeah, all those other ones are really advanced.
Yeah, like it took me a long time to learn that. So like honestly, guys, like Camtasia, iMovie, if you're on the Apple platform, like I mean, I would start with all that kind of stuff because it'll do everything, 99% of what you're gonna need it to do, like cutting stuff, putting bumpers in, like you said, putting in like little things that slide in and have captions or whatever. You can put all that stuff in there with that program. So cool. Well, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We went over the time today, but it was because we had some good stuff going. Guys, again, Curtis has got his call tomorrow.